Hi everyone, Anna Willats here with you again to talk a little bit more about the case of Alvaro Orozco, the young queer Nicaraguan man who is in detention currently being held by Immigration Canada. Just wanted to give you an update to let you know that Alvaro, as of this time, is still held in detention. He is still seeing people. People are going up to visit with him, and he is very, very encouraged by the support that's being shown by the community. But his status is very, very precarious, and he could be deported at any time. Currently, I was speaking with someone who has knowledge of the conversations that he's been having, and they were telling me yesterday that Alvaro is being grilled very harshly by immigration officials, being accused of trying to manipulate the system. Of course, we know that's not true. Alvaro has built family and community here in Toronto. This is his home. He has chosen family, just as we queer people do all around the world. We make our families because often our families of origin are dangerous to us, as Alvaro's was to him in Nicaragua. So we continue to work for his release and for granting of status here in Toronto. There are things that you can do. You can still call the Minister of Immigration, Jason Kenney. You can call him at 613-992-2235, and those phone calls are really, really important. You can also write to him via email at kenny.j@parl.gc.ca. That's KENNEY.J@parl.gc.ca. You can also tweet Jason Kenney. Send him a tweet at Kenny Jason. So that's at KENNEYJASON. So those are all things you can do. And Alvaro's supporters are calling on people to blitz Kenny's office with phones, emails, and tweets this week. And do that again if you've done it before, just to let him know how strong the support is for Alvaro. And ask your friends and your family and your colleagues to do the same. We need to show support from all across the spectrum. People who've been working with Alvaro and who know him at agencies where he's volunteered, artists that he's worked with, these people and people on the left are being typecast or stereotyped as somehow also being illegal or also having criminal intent because they have supported Alvaro. So it's important for us to pull in people who don't know him, who know about the case and have the information they need, but who don't know him personally, who haven't written yet or called yet. It's important to bring those people in on this. You can also contact your local MP, and if you go to the Government of Canada website, you can find out who your local MP is very, very easily. The things to make sure that you emphasize when you're writing to the minister or calling the minister, make sure to emphasize that Alvaro has ties in Canada, established ties, and specifically in Toronto, and this has been his home for all of his adult life. That he has a pending humanitarian and compassionate application that is a strong one, has a commitment to the queer community, the arts community, and to Toronto in general, and that he is very, very important to all of those communities. He's been a role model and a mentor to young people in particular. And that you want to demand that that agency application be looked at as soon as possible, and that the minister himself intervene in this case because it is such an urgent one. So please do that as soon as you can, right away this week. You can also stay in touch with future actions because we will continue to be in the streets. We will continue to be acting for this change and for Alvaro to be allowed to stay in Canada. If you're on Facebook, go to Let Alvaro Stay. If you're not on Facebook, you can go to the No One Is Illegal Toronto site and find out the latest about what's happening in Alvaro's case. So please do that today, and hopefully with all of us working together we can win a stay of deportation and status for this young man in Canada and in Toronto. And then we've got to keep working, of course, to work for all those other people who are being unjustly detained and facing deportation to places of danger. The other thing I wanted to talk with you about today is after going to the Alvaro demo, we had a demo the other day, I was going back and forth between that demo and City Hall because the issue of Pride's funding was being debated at City Hall. on Tuesday, May 24th. And so I didn't get to hear all the deputations, but there was strong support from the queer and arts and other communities, unions, for the extension of Pride's funding. There was also strong support for the right to freedom of expression in the Pride Parade. Of course, the reason that City Council, under the leadership of Giorgio Mammoliti, is trying to stop funding to Pride is because they are saying that the phrase Israeli apartheid is somehow hate speech. The city staff has reported to City Council that in fact nowhere in Canada has it been found, and nowhere internationally in fact has it been found, that the phrase Israeli apartheid is hate speech. Some people find that phrase offensive. Some people do not want to hear any criticism of the State of Israel and its policies towards Palestinians. But the city manager confirmed that in fact to say that phrase, to use that phrase, to have that phrase on a sign or a t-shirt, or to be a group called Queers Against Israeli Apartheid is not in fact criminal, is not hate speech. Despite this fact, some city councillors, particularly Mammoliti, insist that members of QAIA, Queers Against Israeli Apartheid, and in fact the phrase itself, be banned from all Pride festivities. I'm happy to say that despite some pretty over-the-top deputations from of supporters of Israel and supporters of apartheid, despite some deputations making all sorts of wild claims about intention to destroy Israel, the fact that saying that this speech is hateful, and even though it is not hate speech because it is offensive or hateful, it should be banned. Fortunately, the councillors at the executive committee the other day decided that they would in fact receive the report from the city manager and that they would not be recommending at this point to stop Pride's funding, and that's great news for the Pride Festival. However, there is some concern. Apparently at the end of the deputations, the co-chair of Pride, Francisco Alvaro, sorry, I may have his name wrong, but in any case, the co-chair of Pride did say, as reported in the papers, did say to Giorgio Mammoliti and the other councillors on the committee that Pride would act to evict any QAIA members from any Pride festivities. And remember, we're talking an entire week of festivities and events during Pride. So apparently the co-chair confirmed that Pride would act to evict any members of QAIA that showed up at Pride festivities, presumably wearing a t-shirt or carrying a sign or selling buttons or anything like that with the phrase Queers Against Israeli Apartheid. We need to be concerned about this. We have the right to free speech in this country, we have the right to free expression, and we have the right to our opinions about the State of Israel's policies and practices toward Palestinian people. We have the right to opinion about Canada's practices towards Aboriginal people. We have the right to our opinion and to express those opinions about the United States, NATO's bombing of Libya, and I could go on and on and on. In other words, we have the right to express our dissent with the policies of our government, with the Israeli government, and with any other government. And people may be offended by those expressions of opinion. People might not agree with those of us who are very, very critical of the State of Israel's policies and practices. They might not like the fact that those are expressed in terms like the word apartheid, the comparison of current policies of Israel to those practices and policies of South Africa. But you know what? Tough. We have the right to express those opinions, we have the right to wear those t-shirts, and we must be very concerned about Pride's assurances to councillors. If this is what they did promise, that they would evict someone wearing a t-shirt or carrying a sign, whether or not that person is a member of Queers Against Israeli Apartheid, we must be very, very vigilant about that, and we must protest that. So we're going to be looking to Pride Toronto. I encourage you to get in touch with Pride Toronto to ask them to clarify those statements to the executive committee. We will hope and press for Pride Toronto to make a statement clarifying this and to have assurances that we are not going to have quasi-Pride police running around the festival trying to eject people who express opinions that others do not agree with. So let's be on top of that. We'll keep reporting on that in the future. The other thing going on right now, of course, is the City Core Services Review. Big issue. We'll talk about that soon. But if you want more information about that, one quick address you can go to is onetoronto.ca to find out the latest. Thanks.